Chapter 1. The Monday morning tea meeting. The air conditioning in the Kingston headquarters of Laguni Logistics was set to a temperature best described as Arctic tundra, a stark contrast to the shimmering heat haze rising off Hope Road outside. Inside, the atmosphere was just as chilling, though for entirely different reasons. Rochelle adjusted her blazer, ensuring her lanyard sat perfectly straight. At 29, she was the youngest senior analyst the company had ever seen. She had the spreadsheets to prove her worth. But in this boardroom, data was often secondary to who know who. "All right, team," Mr. Holness began, leaning back in his leather chair. He was a man who wore his seniority like a heavy cologne, impossible to ignore. "The regional merger is back on the table. One person from this room will lead the transition team. It's a fast track to the VP suite." The room went silent. You could hear the distant tink-tink of a teaspoon hitting a ceramic mug in the kitchenette. Adrian flashed a smile that didn't quite reach his eyes. "Well, sir, looking at the logistics involved, you need someone with, let's say, a seasoned hand. Someone who understands the culture of how we do things here." Rochelle felt the subtle jab. Seasoned was code for man who attended the right high school. "Culture is important, Adrian," Rochelle countered, her voice steady. "But the merger is about integration systems. My team has already mapped the Phase 1 data migration. We're 2 weeks ahead of schedule." Later that morning, Rochelle found herself at the kettle. Mrs. G was already there, meticulously stirring a cup of ginger tea. "Child, you see how Adrian eyeing that promotion?" Mrs. G whispered, not looking up. "He was at the golf club with Mr. Holness's cousin yesterday. Be careful. In this Jamaica, breeze blow and you see foul rump." "I have the numbers, Mrs. G," Rochelle said, though her confidence was flickering. "My mother didn't work 3 jobs to put me through UWI just for me to lose a promotion to a golf club connection." "Numbers are good, love," Mrs. G replied, finally looking at her. "But don't forget the S in logistics. It stands for social. You have to play the game, or the game plays you." As the afternoon progressed, a company-wide email dropped. "Mandatory social mixer, Friday at 5 p.m. It wasn't just a party, it was an arena. Rochelle looked at the stack of folders on her desk. Her young niece had a school play on Friday evening, and her mother was expecting her to drive. The good daughter role was clashing violently with the ambitious professional role. She looked across the open-plan office and saw Adrian. He was leaning against a cubicle, making a joke that had the junior associates doubling over in laughter. He was already campaigning. Rochelle picked up her pen and began to outline not a spreadsheet, but a strategy. If the merger was a battle of optics versus output, she would have to prove she could master both. Chapter 2. The Art of the Mixer. The Friday evening social mixer at Laguni Logistics was less of a party and more of a high-stakes chess match played with plastic cups of lukewarm rum punch. The office lobby had been transformed with a few streamers and a playlist that leaned heavily into safe lovers rock reggae. Loud enough to discourage deep work, but quiet enough to allow for strategic whispering. Rochelle stood near the hors d'oeuvres table, nursing a soda water with lime. She had reached a compromise with her conscience. She would stay for exactly 90 minutes, make herself visible to the big-ups, and then speed away to catch the final act of her niece's play. "Rochelle, you looking very executive tonight," Adrian remarked, appearing at her elbow. He had traded his tie for a designer polo shirt that screamed weekend in Ocho Rios. "But I notice you are not drinking. Taking the merger prep that seriously?" "I like to keep a clear head, Adrian," she replied with a polite smile, "especially when the stakes are this high." True, but you know what they say. All work and no play makes Jack a dull boy. Or in this case, makes the board think you are too rigid for the human element of a merger. He took a long sip of his drink, his eyes scanning the room for Mr. Holness. The room shifted when Mr. Holness entered, flanked by 2 board members. The air seemed to thin as everyone subconsciously stood a little straighter. Rochelle watched as Adrian seamlessly detached from their conversation, gliding toward the group like a heat-seeking missile. Within seconds, he had them laughing at a story about a botched shipment in Montego Bay that he had heroically saved. He was a master of the narrative. He knew that in this environment, being the person people wanted to have a drink with was often more valuable than being the person who did the work. Rochelle retreated toward the kitchenette to regroup, bumping into Mrs. G, who was reloading a tray of patties. "You see him?" Mrs. G muttered, nodding toward Adrian. "He's spinning yarn like a spider." "But listen to me, Rochelle. Holness is old school. He likes the charisma, yes, but he's also terrified of the board of directors looking at the bottom line. The board is overseas now. They don't care about golf. They care about ROI. So what do I do?" Rochelle asked, her voice hushed. "I can't out-talk him, Mrs. G. That's not who I am." "Then don't," Mrs. G said, sliding a spicy beef patty onto a plate and handing it to her. "Wait for the moment when the talk stops and the problem starts. Every mixer has one." As if on cue, the music abruptly cut out. A frantic-looking IT intern rushed over to Mr. Holness, whispering urgently. Holness's face hardened. He pulled out his phone, his thumb flying across the screen. "Everything all right, sir?" Adrian asked, his voice dripping with concern. "The regional server in Trinidad just went dark," Holness barked. "We're in the middle of the pre-merger data audit. If those files aren't accessible by Monday morning's board meeting, we look like amateurs." Adrian hesitated. I can call the tech lead in Port of Spain, see if he's at home." Rochelle stepped forward. She didn't have a drink in her hand, but she had her tablet in her bag. "Sir, we don't need Port of Spain. I set up a mirrored cloud backup for the audit files last Tuesday as a contingency," Rochelle said, her voice cutting through the murmurs of the room. "I can give you and the board members encrypted access right now from my device. The audit won't skip a beat." The silence that followed was heavy. Mr. Holness looked from the confused Adrian to the composed Rochelle. "You have a backup? Already?" Holness asked. "Contingency is part of the logistics, sir," she said simply. After 5 minutes of technical magic that left the board members nodding in approval, Rochelle checked her watch. 7:15 p.m. "Sir, if you'll excuse me," she said to a stunned Holness. "I have a family commitment. My niece is expecting me." "Of course, Rochelle. Excellent work," Holness said, his eyes lingering on her with a newfound respect. As she walked toward the elevator, she passed Adrian. He was standing by the empty punch bowl, looking for the first time like the seasoned hand was starting to lose its grip. Rochelle stepped into the humid night air, the sound of the elevator bell ringing like a victory chime. She had played the human element after all. She just did it with better data. The drive to the school was a blur of Kingston traffic and mounting guilt. Rochelle pulled into the parking lot just as the final curtain call began. Seeing her niece, Ashanti, beaming in a tinsel crown, Rochelle felt a sharp pang. The victory at the office felt hollow if she couldn't show up for the people who grounded her. Chapter 3. The Sunday dinner audit Sunday at Rochelle's mother's house in Barbican was a ritual of rice and peas, roasted chicken, and family business. It was the one place where Rochelle wasn't a senior analyst, but simply Chell, the daughter expected to carry the family's aspirations. "So, the big promotion," her mother, Miss Joyce, said as she ladled gravy. "I hear you left the office party early Friday. Hope you didn't offend the big man. You know how these people stay. They expect you to be grateful just to be in the room." "I left to see Ashanti, Mommy," Rochelle said, glancing at her sister Tanya, who gave her a grateful wink. I know, Joyce sighed. "But Tanya, have us to help. You have that career. In my day, we never had these chances. You have to hold it with both hands, even if it means missing a little play." The pressure was a familiar weight. To her mother, the office wasn't just a job. It was a fortress they had spent 30 years trying to breach. Any sign of lack of focus was seen as a risk to the family's social mobility. When Rochelle walked into Lagugni Logistics on Monday, the atmosphere had shifted. The technical win from Friday should have secured her lead, but the office grapevine was humming a different tune. As she passed the break room, she overheard Adrian's voice, loud and performative. "I mean, it's great she had the backup," Adrian was saying to a group of junior associates. "But it makes you wonder, doesn't it? If she's so focused on contingencies, is she actually collaborative? Or is she just building her own little kingdom? A merger needs a bridge builder, not a software programmer." Rochelle kept walking, her jaw tight. Adrian was pivoting. He couldn't beat her on competence, so he was attacking her fit. At 10 a.m., Rochelle was summoned to Mr. Holness's office. To her surprise, Adrian was already there, looking remarkably smug. "Rochelle, sit," Holness said, looking troubled. Adrian raised a valid point this morning regarding the Trinidad server issue. He suggested that while your cloud backup saved the day, the fact that the primary server went down after you accessed it for the audit might look suspicious to the external auditors. Rochelle felt the blood drain from her face. Sir, are you suggesting I compromised the server to look like a hero? Nobody is using the word sabotage yet, Adrian interjected smoothly, leaning back. We're just saying it's a security concern. It might be best if a neutral party, perhaps myself, oversees the data integrity check for the next week while we investigate the glitch. The move was brilliant and ruthless. By casting a shadow of doubt, Adrian wasn't just stalling her promotion, he was threatening her reputation. I welcome an audit, Rochelle said, her voice dropping an octave into a cold, professional register. In fact, let's bring in the third-party IT consultants today. My logs are transparent. Are yours, Adrian? Adrian's smile wavered for a fraction of a second. I am just looking out for the company, Rochelle. No need to get emotional. It's not emotion, Adrian, she countered. It's accountability. Mr. Holness, if we're going to talk about culture, let's talk about the culture of merit. I'll have the full access logs on your desk by lunch. As Rochelle stormed out of the office, she nearly ran into Mrs. G, who was busy dusting a picture frame near the door. The lizard don't always know which leaf to hide under, Mrs. G whispered as Rochelle passed. Not now, Mrs. G, Rochelle snapped, then immediately felt regret. I am sorry, it's just, he's trying to frame me for the server crash. Mrs. G leaned in, her voice barely audible over the hum of the AC. Adrian is a man of many friends, Rochelle. One of those friends works in the server room in Port of Spain. They went to the same high school. Fortis brothers stay together, you know? Rochelle stopped in her tracks. The Old Boy Network wasn't just about golf and drinks. It was a system of deep-rooted loyalties that could reach across the Caribbean Sea. You have proof, Rochelle whispered. I have eyes, Mrs. G replied, turning back to her dusting. And I know who takes long lunch breaks at the same time the servers go quiet. But proof? That's for people with your fancy spreadsheets to find. Chapter 4, The Blue Mountain Trail. The tension at Laguni Logistics was now a living thing, thick enough to stall the elevators. Rochelle spent the rest of Monday hunched over her dual monitors, her eyes stinging from the blue light. She wasn't looking at logistics anymore, she was looking for a digital fingerprint. By Tuesday morning, the sabotage rumor had grown legs and was running laps around the office. People who usually stopped by Rochelle's desk for a quick mornin' now suddenly found interest in their shoes as they walked past. The silence is the loudest part, isn't it? Rochelle looked up. It was Andre, a quiet junior developer who usually stayed out of the office fray. He sat down and slid a flash drive across her mahogany desk. What's this? Rochelle asked, her voice low. I ran a trace on the Port of Spain ping that crashed the server, Andre whispered. It didn't come from a glitch. It came from a remote desktop login. The credentials used were admin guest, a legacy account we usually keep for emergencies. But the IP address it originated from, it wasn't in Trinidad. Rochelle felt her heart hammer against her ribs. Where was it? A private Wi-Fi network registered to a villa in Stony Hill, the Blue Mountain Retreat. Rochelle's mind raced. The Blue Mountain Retreat was the site of the Old Boys' annual weekend social, the very one Adrian had attended just 2 weeks prior. Rochelle knew she couldn't just run to Holness with an IP address. In the Jamaican corporate world, accusing a legacy man of sabotage without absolute, undeniable proof was professional suicide. She needed more than data. She needed a confession, or at least a crack in the armor. That evening, she skipped her usual late-night office grind and headed to a small bar in New Kingston where the operations staff often hung out. She wasn't looking for Adrian, she was looking for his links. She spotted Trevor, the head of the dispatch team and one of Adrian's closest allies. He was 3 red stripes deep and loudly complaining about the new management styles threatening the company. Trevor, Rochelle said, sliding onto the stool next to him. Senior analyst, Trevor mocked, though not unkindly. Come to tell me my fuel efficiency is down 2%? Actually, I came to ask about the Stony Hill retreat, she said, signaling the bartender to give Trevor another round. I heard the Wi-Fi there is world-class, good enough to run a whole company from the balcony. Trevor stiffened. He looked at her, his eyes narrowing. What you trying to say, Rochelle? Adrian is a good man. He looks out for us. You think we don't see how you people from UWI and beyond look down on those of us who came up through the ranks? I don't look down on anyone, Trevor. My mother was a secretary for 40 years, Rochelle said, her voice dropping the corporate polish and slipping into a deeper, more grounded patois. But I know the difference between looking out for the team and using the team to hide a mess. If the board finds out about that server ping, they won't just fire the person who did it. They'll clear out the whole department. Is Adrian going to pay your mortgage when that happens? Trevor was silent for a long time, the only sound the clinking of ice in the background. He said it was just a stress test. To show wholeness, we needed more funding for ops. He didn't say it would crash the whole regional link. A stress test using an emergency admin account? Rochelle leaned in. Trevor, that's not a test, that's a trap. Trevor looked at his drink, then back at her. He has the logs on his personal laptop. He's deleting them Friday after the promotion is announced. Rochelle left the bar with a choice. She had the location of the evidence, but getting it meant playing as dirty as Adrian. She had spent her whole life being the good girl, the scholarship winner, the by-the-book professional. She checked her phone. A message from her mother. Rochelle, Mr. Holness's wife called me today. We were in the same church group years ago. She said he speaks highly of you, but he's worried you're not a team player. Fix it, please. This is for the family. The irony tasted like ash. Her mother was using the old school connection to help her, not realizing that the same system was currently trying to bury her. Rochelle didn't go home. She went back to the office. The building was dark, save for the security lights. She walked past the empty cubicles to the server room. She didn't need to break in. She still had her senior access. As she sat in the cold, humming room, she realized that loyalty in this company was a currency that was rapidly devaluing. She began to draft an email, not to Wholeness, but to the lead auditor of the merger in Barbados. If she was going to burn the old boys club down, she wasn't going to do it as a disgruntled employee. She was going to do it as a whistleblower protecting the merger's integrity. Chapter 5. The Reckoning. Friday morning at Lycanee Logistics arrived with the kind of heavy, humid stillness that precedes a tropical storm. The office was eerily quiet. Even the constant hum of the photocopier seemed to hold its breath. Today was the day the board of directors would announce the lead for the regional merger. Rochelle sat at her desk, her fingers hovering over her keyboard. She hadn't slept. The email to the external auditors in Barbados sat in her sent folder, a digital grenade with the pin pulled. At 9 a.m., the summons came. Not to Mr. Holness's office, but to the main boardroom. When Rochelle entered, she saw the full weight of the company's hierarchy. Mr. Holness sat at the head, looking unusually pale. Beside him were two suits from the Barbados auditing firm and a very confident-looking Adrian. Rochelle, thank you for joining us, Mr. Holness said, his voice lacked its usual boom. We received a very detailed report from the auditors this morning. It seems there was a massive breach in our security protocols during the Friday mixer. Adrian leaned forward, his man of the people mask firmly in place. It's a shame, really. I told the board that sometimes young talent gets too eager to prove themselves. Setting up backups is one thing, but creating the crisis to justify the solution, that's not the Laguni way. Rochelle didn't flinch. She looked directly at the lead auditor, a stern woman named Mrs. Chen. Adrian is right about one thing, Rochelle said, her voice echoing in the sterile room. It's about the Laguni way. But the way he's referring to is a system of favors and old-school ties that almost cost this merger $40 million in lost data. She opened her laptop and projected a single screen onto the wall. The evidence log. Account. Admin guest. Legacy IP origin 192.168.1.45. Blue Mountain Retreat Private Network MAC address 00-14, -22, -01, -23, -45. Registered to Adrian's company laptop. Timestamp, Friday 6:42 p.m. While Adrian was seen at the bar, this wasn't a glitch and it wasn't me, Rochelle stated. The remote login was timed perfectly to coincide with the mixer. While Adrian was terming the room, his laptop, which he forgot in his car that evening, was programmed to ping the Port of Spain server using a script. Adrian's face went from smug to a sickly shade of gray. That proves nothing. Anyone could have used my laptop. Actually, Mrs. Chen interrupted, her Bajan accent sharp and precise. We tracked the secondary authentication. It was bypassed using a mobile device registered to your personal SIM card, Mr. Adrian. The stress test you mentioned to your dispatch team wasn't authorized. In our world, we call this corporate espionage. The silence that followed was absolute. Mr. Holness looked at Adrian, the man he had mentored, the man who went to the same high school, the man he had intended to promote. The betrayal was etched in the lines of his face. Adrian, Holness whispered, leave. My assistant will send your personal belongings to your home. Do not return to this building. As Adrian walked out, his head finally low, he didn't look like a seasoned hand anymore. He looked like a relic. Mr. Holness turned to Rochelle. The room felt different now. The old boy's energy had evaporated, replaced by the cold, hard reality of the auditor's gaze. Rochelle, Holness began, clearing his throat. The board has decided. The merger transition team needs a leader who prioritizes integrity over tradition. The position is yours. Rochelle felt a wave of relief, but it wasn't the explosion of joy she expected. She thought of Trevor in the bar, of the junior associates who had stayed silent, and of her mother's expectations. That evening, Rochelle sat in her car in the parking lot. She called her mother. Mommy? I got the promotion. Oh, Shell, I knew Mr. Holness would see sense. I'll call his wife tomorrow and— No, Mommy, Rochelle interrupted gently. Don't call her. I didn't get it because of who we know. I got it because of what I know. And from now on, that's how it's going to be. As she drove out of the gates of Laguni Logistics, she saw Mrs. G standing at the bus stop. Rochelle pulled over and rolled down the window. The lizard found a new leaf, Mrs. G, Rochelle said with a small smile. Mrs. G adjusted her handbag, a twinkle in her eye. No, darling. The lizard just realized she didn't need to hide it all. Walk good, Madam Vice President. Walk good. The Kingston sun was setting, painting the blue mountains in shades of purple and gold. For the first time in her career, Rochelle wasn't just navigating the office politics. She was rewriting the rules.